All right, so first of all, I'm going to start off by saying Barakatham, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah. And I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, and Kakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And shout out to the whole few elect, started the 144,000 Shalom. All right, so one of the brothers posted this, it could be an elder brother or, a younger brother, whatnot, but, Lord willing, he's a sincere Akim, right, but he posted this, and me and the brothers sending amongst each other in a group chat we have on Instagram and whatnot. We send precepts around it, because me and a few of the brothers over the past weekend, we was also talking about this as well, right, because in these last days, you're gonna have that temptation. You're gonna have that, them seducing spirits. You gonna have Satan trying to get you in all forms of fashion to distract you and to keep you focused on things around you instead of focusing on Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah. And that's that temptation that we all, face, right? I'm already at it, right? So this First Peter 5, right? And we read verse 8, right? Starting at verse 8, right? It says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walking about, seeking whom he may devour. And he's trying to get anybody, right? Trying to get anybody. If he catch you slipping, he gonna get you. He gonna get you, man. Right? That's why he try to keep you focused on the things around. That's why the music, the fun that's going on around you, football, the sport, all these type of things. It try to keep you distracted in those ways, so that so that when that time comes, it can easily strike on you. Because we know that in this truth, we got the shield of faith, right? We have the shield of faith, right? We're preparing ourselves for the spiritual wickedness of high place. They trying to distract our mind. They trying to get us to stay focused on this world, trying to get us to move into the flesh. Because the flesh is weak, but the spirit is willing, right? Us having this word, this truth is our sword, right? So anytime we stray from this word, stray from this truth, we're vulnerable, man. We're vulnerable, right? And Satan knows that. Right, that's why he tried to put afflictions and things on you. Remember the patience of Job. Job went through all these things, right? And the devil was doing that because he felt like Job was going to go against Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, right? But those afflictions can come. He can try to make things seem like they're good for you. Think you don't need Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah. That's what Proverbs 30 talks about, right? We don't want to get too high, we want to get too low. That just balance, man. Staying right there, focus on Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, focus on the merits and nothing else, right? Verse 9 it says, "Whom resist steadfast in faith?" Because we resist them, push them away, right? And as I'm going to bring out, matter of fact, I'm finishing to bring it out. Whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world, because we're all facing these temptations. This brother might be facing a different temptation than you, right? This brother might be facing different, but it's all working to try to distract you from the will of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah. And with me, I was telling the brother, with me being a collegiate athlete, and I was telling him, like, man, he's asking, because, asking about, like, how many years eligibility you got? I was like, man, it's going to be the last one. It's like, nah, man, I don't believe it. I was like, man, because at this point, because and I had ups and downs within this truth. And I'm not scared to admit it. I done had ups and downs in this truth. I done been on fire, done fell off back into the way of the world, then Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah brought me back in. Gracefully, mercy, right? And as I grow and desire that sensitive milk and grow more and more in this truth, I understand that's the mercy of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah. Right? Because you understand and see how lost and how dark you was, man. Right? And you see how lost and dark the ones around you are. Right? So, being brought back in this truth, man, I see it and it's like, hey, all these worldly things, all these things around are distractions. Right? All these things are distractions. All these things are things that try to pull you away, try to keep you focused on this world. Right? It's like it. So I'm gonna read this real fast and I'm gonna bring out a precept, right? So this is it says, every time you're spreading the word, every time you're spreading the word, reading the word, or studying the word, right? Someone stopped you from doing so, that's Satan working through them. Anytime you just had the word sown into your mind and someone comes and get you out of the spirit, that is Satan. Very simple and overlooked concept that many ignore. People don't look at it that way. Right? People look at it way. You might be ready to do lesson whatnot. You might be ready to, sit down and study and, hey man, hey, let's go out and go get these wings, right? But you're not even thinking of it as, oh, we just gonna get some food, right? But at the same time, the spirit had you sitting down ready to study, but that left hand spirit came on him to distract you from getting it, And so let's go from here, right? Let's go to 1 Timothy 4 and verse 1. That's why you gotta stay on that watchtower. You gotta stay focused. Right, especially in these last days, and that's how I've been harking on a lot lately. Even I was talking to the brother, man, these last days, because the world is confused. The world thinks shit is regular. Man, shit ready to pop off. Jacob's trouble is here, right? And the only way we're gonna overcome is what? We overcame by the blood of the Lamb through the word of His testimony. That's the spirit of prophecy. Us preparing ourselves through the scriptures, knowledge, and understanding, right? Wisdom and knowledge shall be stability in our times for us to be stable and be on point and be ready to battle that spiritual wickedness, right? Because this truth is our sword; it cuts deep. Us having knowledge and understanding, Esau know they can't touch her. That's why they try their best to hide it, debunk it. Right? That's why Satan tries his best. You know, they the physical sons and daughters. Say you got the spiritual demon of doubt. You got the physical sons and daughters of Satan, man. Right? You know, and the Most High controls all of them. Most High controls everything. Right? The Most High controls it all. Right? You know, that test in the faith, man. So this is 1 Timothy 4 and verse 1. Right? It says, now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in latter times some shall depart from the faith. And you got to understand, right? You have, you know, when a man drawn his way, the scripture say when a man drawn away, he's drawn with his own lust. Right? So that meaning, like, when these things occur, women, your brother, your friend, cousin, when these things occur, these are things that the flesh is weak, the spirit is willing. So the flesh is weak. It's trying to get you into things that know the flesh would grab. Women, food, fun, music. It try to grab you in those things because the flesh is weak. The flesh not able to fight us. But the spirit of Yahweh, which leads us and guides us, it will help you overcome. Right? Yahweh came down here with the fullness. Right? He came down here with the fullness. When temptation came to him, he came down here with the fullness. He understood. But each and every day, he supplies us with the spirit to overcome. Each and every day, he supplies us with the spirit to overcome, to fight, to stay strong. Right? But that goes into us preparing ourselves as well. Right? That goes to us preparing ourselves as well, man. Right? Yahweh is the strength coach, but we got to show up to the work. We got to show up to the gym every day. You know, we got to show up to the gym. We got to be consistent. You know, we got to go up in there. We got to do what's set for us to do. Right? He gave us the blueprint and he gave us everything to get it done. He showed us the way. Right? You know, he overcame temptation. He did the will of Yahweh. He came and showed us the author and finisher of our faith. Now it's time for us to lock in and stay focused. Right? Because once again, the flesh is weak, but the spirit is willing. That might be the title of the lesson. Right? It says, some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. Right? And those seducing spirits come in all type forms of fashion. Just as, you know, like I said, it hit me in the spirit. Just as the thing say, you know, you might be ready to study. You know, you might be ready to study the word of the spirit came in. Somebody came in. Those seducing spirits that try to pull you and grab you out. They come in females, all types of ways I just named. Right? So that's why you got to stay focused. You got to stay on that watchtower. Right? Because that's what Paul was talking about. You know, that you know, that we're in that spiritual battle, man. Right? Real fast, quick precept. Galatians 5 and 17. Well, I'll reverse 16. It says, this I say then, walk in the spirit, ye should not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that you would. Right? They're contrary one to another. Right? The flesh trying to pull you into the way of the flesh, man. Right? What is the this is John, I want to say, bear with me. Might be John 15. Bear with me. No, it might be 1 John 15. I'm not mistaken. 1 John. Huh? Bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. What is that? What is that? Bear with me. See if it's typing about him and love stuff. It's like 1 John. I knew it was in 1 John. 1 John 2, right? And this is verse 15. I started verse 15 says, love not the world, neither things that are in the world, because they're all distractions. Everything in the world is just wickedness. If they're not in this truth, they're wicked, they're lost, they're zombies. Right? So everything in this world is wickedness. So you loving anything in this world, you have any care for anything in this world, is going to distract you from the will of Yahweh Shem Shah, right? Because Yahweh Shem Shah is going to come destroy this place. And it's crazy because I started it over, but I was around like 20, 30 minutes in of the elders camp. They did Saturday, whatnot, and a little bit in the camp they was talking about, hastening for this world to pass away. We hasten for this world to pass away because everything surrounding this world is wickedness. Because who's the rulers of this world? The wicked. So everything surrounding this world is just pure wickedness. It said, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Right? It says, for all that is in the world, the lust of flesh and the lust of eyes and the pride of life is not the Father, but is of the world. Right? It says, but the world passed away and the lust thereof, but he will do the will of Yahweh about it forever. So that's why you have to stay on that watch tower. You have to stay focused because you have these things of the world that try to distract you and pull you away. The lust of the flesh, the lust of eyes. Right? You have those seducing spirits that try to grab you because the flesh is weak. The flesh is weak. And that's why I brought Galatians, because you have that spiritual battle going on. Right? You have that spiritual battle going on with the flesh and the spirit. Right? So when you're in the spirit, you have to, you can't fellowship with darkness. You can't fellowship. If they're not in the spirit, you don't fellowship with them. That's what John was talking about. Right? Was that John chapter 10? Right? When he said, it was in my mouth sweet as honey. It was in my mouth sweet as honey. When I swallowed it was bitter. Because accepting this truth is understanding you have to depart from friends, family, females, all type of things. You got to put all that away. Right? You have to put all that away. You got to come into Yahweh Shem Shah. Fully, you have to come into the marriage. You got to come into the marriage. Marriage is joined together. Right? You have to be joined together with Yahweh Shem Shah. If you have anything pertaining to the world, we just read it, 1 John 2, the love of the Father is not in you, man. Right? Because everything surrounding this world, once again, is just pure wickedness. Right? Those seducing spirits, the things that try to keep you confounded in the way of this world, keep you confounded in the way of wickedness. Right? And that's why, Paul talked about it, in Romans chapter 7. Right? I'm going to touch a few of them, right? But the main one I want to bring out is, when I consent to the law, that is good. That don't mean that, you just do wrong because you know the law. It's understanding that, that us having knowledge of Yahweh Shem Shah and understanding when we wrong, understanding, that this way of life, everything that's going on in this world is pure wickedness, right? So it gives us that's that spirit. That's why Galatians 5:18 say what? When you let the spirit, you're not under the law. Meaning what? When you let the spirit of Yahweh Shem Shah lead you, that spirit gonna drive you to do the righteous things of Yahweh Shem Shah. It's gonna drive you to depart from those things. It's gonna drive you to get away. Matter of fact, let me bring this out real fast. Fellowship with. Con. I'm gonna read all these, right? So this is 2 Corinthians 6 and verse 14 says, "Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. To what fellowship have righteous with unrighteous, and what communion have light with darkness?" Right? Because that darkness ain't gonna do nothing but bring darkness upon you. Because you got to understand the way you got to, if they're not in the light, you have about Shem Shah. Don't get me wrong. You could try, you definitely. Cause I know when we first came in the truth, right? Everybody I hung with, talked to, I tried to put them on, right? Hey, who, and at one point when I first came into the truth, before I started studying under, GMS, right, Elder Pastor Hard on down and whatnot, I would try to put everybody on. It was like I would be debating with them and all that. But now when you go understand that, hey, if they don't get it, they don't get it. I just got to get away from you because you don't get it. What fellowship have righteousness with unrighteousness? I got to depart from you because the things I'm focused on, you're not focused on. So you want to go party, you want to do this and that. Once again, that's what the brother was talking about. It's simple, but it's overly looked because you could be ready to sit down and study. They call you, let's go do this, let's go do that. And the flesh is weak. The flesh gonna pull you, make you want to go do that. But the spirit, that's why you gotta move in the spirit, right? And you gotta get away from them, cause that's Satan working through them. Satan trying to grab that's those seducing spirits. That's those seducing spirits, man. Those things trying to pull you away, right? This is Ephesians 5:11, right? It says, "And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them." Right? Hey, man, get away from that. That's why I also going back to Romans 7, right? If I consent to the law that is good, and you understand, that's not the way of our heritage. Even though they might not understand, that's why I tell people all the time. Hey, why you don't eat that? No, it ain't righteous. It's not of my heritage, right? That's not what Yahweh Shem Shah set for us to do, man. Right? This is 1 John 1 verse 6 says, If we say that we have fellowship with him, right, with Yahweh and walk in darkness, we lie and do not the truth. Right? You can't say that, we follow Yahweh because Yahweh ain't dealing with them. Yahweh said, I came for those who are sick. And the ones who didn't believe, the ones who didn't understand him, what he told them, you're gonna die in your sins. Right? That's why the script said they gross darkness. The darkness is a non-understanding. Don't have the knowledge, don't have that light is the truth, the understanding. That's why Yahweh said, well, I come a light into the world. He brought that light of understanding to us so we can walk on the righteous path, that narrow passage. Right? Those ones who are in darkness, those are the ones who don't understand, who can't get this truth. So therefore, they're focused on the way of the flesh. They focus on the lust of eyes, the lust of the world, right? The stuff that is going to pass away. But as the scripts say, those who do the will of Yahweh, they'll abide forever, man. Right? So you gotta be focused on the will of Yahweh, right? So I want to bring a few precepts in here, just going into that, that war in the flesh that Paul was talking about, right? Right here, I started verse 12. It said, wherefore the law is holy. Holy is meaning separate, right? That's why we have the laws and commandments. That's why we're, as Deuteronomy 7:6, we're a holy people, because the law set us apart, right? Yahweh gave us the laws and commandments for us not to do and follow the ways of these heathen, of these other nations. He gave us laws and commandments for us to stay focused in the truth, for us to do the righteous things, for us not to fellowship with unrighteousness, for us not to fellowship with darkness. We have that knowledge and understanding that was given unto us. The things that are pleasing to Yahweh are made known unto us, merely paraphrasing, right? It's book of Baruch, right? It said, wherefore the law is holy and the commandment holy and just and good. Was then that which is good made death unto me? Yahweh forbid, but sin, right? That it might appear sin. What is sin? Sin is transgression of the law, right? It says, working death in me by that which is good, and that sin by the command might be exceedingly sinful. That's why going into this also as well, understand that we're not judged by the law. That's why we're going to be, that's why Yahweh came laid down for us, and we're going to be changed, right? It goes to the second covenant, right? But which we're not in the second covenant yet. Only thing with the second covenant is that Yahweh laid down his blood for us, right? Because we were made, we were subject to vanity. Romans 8:20, if I'm not mistaken, right? We were creatures subject to vanity, right? But, Yahweh knew we couldn't keep a perfect law, these imperfect bodies. So therefore, we have the second covenant, which in due time we're going to be changed into spiritual bodies, right? We're going to be changed into spiritual bodies, right? And when we get into these spiritual bodies, the law of commandments going to be written in our hearts and minds, so there's going to be no more sin, right? And everybody going to know the laws and commandments of Yahweh. We ain't going to have to teach our neighbor. We ain't going to have to teach them this and that. They going to know it, right? But at the beginning with the elect going to be being up and saved, and the 2/3, they had to go through that judgment, right, before. Right, it says, for we know that the law is spiritual. That's why we're going to be spiritual bodies, right? And the laws and commandments are written in our hearts and minds. It said, but I am carnal, sold under sin, because in these corruptible bodies we're carnal. We're sold under sin. So that's why you got to understand, if they not, the natural man can't understand these spiritual things. So therefore, you can't deal with them, right? You can't deal with them, man, because they're on a natural level. They're thinking of the flesh. They're thinking of all these things of the flesh. We're not moving in the flesh. We're moving in the spirit, because we know the flesh is weak. We know that the flesh is going to confound and consult with those things, right? So those ones who move in the flesh, who distract you and keep you focused in the way of this world, hey, you got to get away from them, right? It says, I am carnal, sold under sin, for that which I do allow not. For that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, for that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that do I not. But what I hate that I do. And Paul is saying the things that he want to do, he don't do, right? Because he want to be righteous, right? He want to be perfect, but we can't because we need imperfect bodies. We want to each and every day. That's why we hate for this world to pass away. That's why we're ready to get out of this place because there's pure wickedness around us, right? We in these filthy bodies, man. We're unclean. We ready to get out of this. We ready to get out of this tabernacle. We ready to be. The more we're down here, we're absent from Yahweh Shah. We ready to get into the kingdom of Yahweh Shah. We're gonna be perfect. Right, we're going to do the will of Yahweh. That's why we're servants unto righteousness. That's why now we're scribing in the spirit to move and walk in that way of Yahweh Shai, that he walked, the path he walked in. Right? It says, if then I do that which I would not, I consent to the law that it is good. Now then it is no more that I do it, but sin dwelleth in me. You got to understand that that's why it goes into the flesh is weak. But the spirit is willing, because you got to understand, as I was bringing out Galatians, right? When you walk in the spirit, you will not fulfill the lust of things of the flesh. But us having being brought back to remembrance, us having the spirit of Yahweh Shai, and us understanding that hey, that's not acceptable to Yahweh Shem Shah. See, Jake don't know that Jake in darkness. Jake lost. Jake grow darkness. So everything they doing, they think they moving it right. They think they doing it right. These Christians, all they think they doing everything right, man. Right? But not understanding that everywhere they moving is pure wickedness and pure transgression. It was going to get them destroyed. Moving into anywhere this world and fast is going to get them destroyed. So we have a lot of commandments to understand that, that's not what Yahweh Shem Shah said for us to do. Even though we're not judged by the law, we can't just out here do what we want to do. There's a curriculum set. There's a standard set for Yahweh Shem Shah that was given unto the Hebrew Israelites. The laws and commandments are only given to the Hebrew Israelites. So therefore, it was a standard set for us to walk therein. But our people didn't walk in. But that 144,000, they're striving, they're pushing, they're walking in that way. Yahweh Shem Shah. They follow the laws and commandments to the best of their ability. And we're not in our homeland right now. So therefore, we can't follow them perfectly. But we're moving in the spirit to do the things, to do the things that we can. And that goes into that temptation, right? That temptation that try to get us. When Satan come, right, through the girl, through this and that, you ready to study, somebody, go back to it again, right? Matter of fact, right, it says someone stopped you from, you studying the word, someone stopped you from doing it. That's Satan working through them, right? Or you had the word in your mind, you ready to do a lesson, and it gets you out of spirit. That's Satan, right? Because why? Right, it's time to distract you and get you out of the way of that out of the spirit of Yahweh Shem Shah to get you moving the way of the flesh. Because Satan know he can get to you then. Esau know he can get to you then, right? Esau know he can get to you then. But any man of the flesh, Esau know he can get to him. Money, cars, clothes, females, all these type of things. Food, all the Esau know he can get to you. But when you move in the spirit, nobody can't touch you because we got the spirit of Yahweh Shem Shah, right? We're not following. We're not. Our weapons are not carnal. We battle against spiritual wicked. They can't control our mind. They can't get to it. We got that faith in Yahweh Shem Shah through the spirit. The Spirit gives us knowledge. The Spirit gives us His key. The Spirit gives us understanding. That's why Yahweh Shah said what? I will leave you a comforter, right? I will leave you a comforter, right? What is a comforter? A comforter is there to comfort you, to be there for you, let you know that, hey, you don't need these things. You don't have to follow these things. You don't have to do what they do, right? I got you, right? So, I'll go read this real fast. This is how I quoted earlier. This is Galatians 5:18. It says, but if you be led of the Spirit, you're not in the law. Meaning what? When you walk in the Spirit, how about Yahweh Shah, you're going to automatically do the righteous things of the law, man. Right? Let's see. I have another one I wanted to grab. So excuse me for the stuff he knows. I think I had another one I wanted to grab. Yeah, man, that was, well, Lord willing, kind of made the point. Thought I had a few more precepts, Lord willing, trying to think of it as I'm speaking. Make sure I touched really touched all the points. Make sure I grabbed the precept I wanted to grab. Oh, it was another one. Mark 4. When the brother sent this, as we were talking about it earlier, right? Mark 4, right, in verse 19, right? Let's see. Oh, let's go to the parable of the wayside, right? So this, so let's see where I want to start. Well, this is going to the seed of the wayside, right? I started verse 11. It says, he said unto them, unto you it is given to know the mystery of the kingdom of heaven. I also talked about this in Matthew 13. It says, unto you it is given to know the mystery of the kingdom of heaven, because it's a mystery to get into the kingdom of heaven. Right? It's a mystery. This ain't nothing everybody gonna get, everybody gonna understand. So therefore, you can't, hey, Matthew chapter 25 talks about the talents. You can't waste your talent, man. You have this talent, you have this truth. They don't get it, they don't understand it. Right? You have that 144,000, you have the elect, man, the election, man. So therefore we ambassadors for the truth. We got to carry ourselves as such, right? We can't do what they do, right? They locusts. It's like they lost. I mean to say, right? They focus on the way of the world. They not focused on the way of Yahweh Shem Shah. They focus on their own will. We focus on the will of Yahweh Shem Shah. That's why Paul excuse me real fast. But that's what Paul's talking about, in Timothy. I wonder which one it was, but he talks about I don't know if it's 1 Timothy or 2 Timothy. I want to say it's 1 Timothy 4. But he talks about, receiving that crown of life. Because he gave up himself to do the will of Yahweh Shem Shah. He said, I don't receive my crown now, but I will receive my crown. That's what we're doing the will of Yahweh Shem Shah. Because as the scripture tells, we just read, right? Those who do the will of Yahweh Shem Shah, they're about us forever, man. It says, matter of fact, this is going into the parable of the seed sown, right? And verse 12, I think verse 12, they seen and they may see. Yeah, let's go in verse 12, how about Shem don't let them understand the truth, for them to come into the truth to be able to repent. It said, know you not this parable and how then we all parables, the sower soweth the word, the sower soweth the word. And these are they by the wayside where the word is sown, but when they have heard, Satan cometh immediately and take away the word that was sown in their hearts. He said, and these are they likewise which are sown on stony ground, who when they have heard the word immediately receive with gladness, and have no root in themselves, and so endure before a time, and afterward the affliction or persecution arises for the word's sake, immediately they are offended. Right? They don't have no root. So as soon as something comes to scratch, temptation get them, in type way, they fall out this truth. Right? In verse 17, he says they have no root in themselves, and so endure for a time. Afterward, when affliction or persecution arises for the word's sake, immediately they are offended. And these are they which are sown among thorns, such as hear the word and the cares, and such as hear the word and the cares of the world of this world, and the deceitful of riches and the lust of other things entering in, choke the word and becoming unfruitful. And these are they which are sown on good ground. That's the elect, right? But all these other ones are wicked ones, right? They come to this, they hear the word, they come to the truth, and they fall out, right? These are the ones who, they hear the word, but they let Esau, Edom come into their mind and easily distract them. Right, these are the ones who have the care of they sown the thorns because why? Right, the riches, the money, I just tell you right here, the riches, the deceitful riches, the lust of other things is easy distracting them, it's choking them up. They can't get it. Right, that's why you have to separate from these things. Right, you got to be able to see that were sown on good ground. Verse 20, right, such as hear the word, they receive it and bring forth fruit, some 30-fold, some 60-fold, some 100-fold. Right, to whom is given much is required. Right? Yahweh outside give us all, we all have a set lot to be fulfilled. We all got to fulfill that lot. But you can't be focused on the way of this word, you can't focus on the things around you. And you have to depart from those ones who, hey, they of darkness, as he said in the fact. We can end with that again, man. They of darkness, man, you got to get away from them, man. What is that? Well, that was 1 John 2, right? Bear with me. I want to say. Oh, well, I think that was it. 1 John 1, verse 6, right? Yeah, 1 John 1, verse 6, I was just at it, right? I started verse 5, says, this then is the message we have heard of him and declaring to you that power is light, and in him is no darkness at all. So Yahweh seen Yahweh, man. There's no, Yahweh that light. He came with that light, that understanding, right? It says, if we say that we fellowship with him, right? We fellowship with Yahweh and walk in darkness, right? We lie, do not the truth, man. So you can't walk with darkness. You can't fellowship with darkness. You can't fellowship with that with the confound and confused ways of the word. Can't fellowship with him, with her, because they're in darkness, right? So you fellowship with anywhere of darkness, right? That confused state, you fellowship any of that, then the love of Yahweh is not in you, man. He said, but if we walk in the light, and he is the light, talking about Yahweh, we have fellowship one with another, and the blood of Yahweh Mashiach, his son, cleans us from all sin, man. So we got to walk in that light. Because it's through this light, this understanding knowledge, the only way we're going to escape this place, man. Right? So we got to be focused. We got to be on our watch time. We got to stay that in. Because for the times to come, this knowledge, this understanding, this light, that Yahweh shall come, when this darkness cover the whole earth, this light is going to be what guides us and leads us. Going to be that comforter for us, man. Right? So that being said, Lord willing, we'll title this, the flesh is weak, but the spine of fat weak. And with that, I want to title this, the flesh is weak, but the spirit is willing, man. Right? Can't be distracted in the flesh, man. You got to walk in the spirit. This is Matthew 26:41. It says, watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak, man. So you got to walk in the spirit, man. You got to walk in the spirit, So with that being said, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying, exalting, right? And I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And shout out to the whole elect, starting with the 144,000. Shalom.